Recorded now.
Okay, well, Congresswoman Barragan, please, if you're here, we'd love to hear your report.
Thank you to you and to the entire neighborhood council for your service and for allowing me to come in for a few minutes today. Just to give a quick update, you may have been hearing and reading about the Senate is moving the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and we are waiting for that to come over to the House. The House has made it clear that we are going to wait for the reconciliation part, which is part of the president's Build Back Better agenda. This is the part of the president's plan that will lower cost for Americans, such as prescription drug pricing, childcare. It will expand access to in-home care. It will also include things like dental coverage and hearing aids and vision for people who are on Medicare. This Build Back Better also will cut taxes for Americans by including the child tax credit that people have started to see. It will also create millions of jobs while acting on climate change, which we all know is happening now. Just today, the IPCC put out a report about the warning on that. And it's going to be paid for by making sure the largest corporations are paying their fair share, and also by making sure the wealthiest Americans are paying their fair share. Nobody over $400,000 would see any kind of an increase. So that's our big focus right now. I also want to mention some of the local projects that we have, that I have put in requesting for on the federal side. This is the first time in a long time they've let us pick community funded projects. And there are 3 in San Pedro that I just quickly want to mention. One of them is the YWCA has a project to build permanent supportive housing for women and children. We were just out visiting that site. It's a $2 million funding request. It's passed the House. Now we're waiting for the Senate to finish their budget, and we are pushing to get that in. So that would help keep people, you know, with a roof over their head. And that's something we're really excited about. It will also expand the ability for the YWCA to expand their services and do renovations. The second project is for the San Pedro Harbor community clinics. They are looking to add a community clinic site at the Link Housing Project. That's $1 million federal request that has been put in, that's been approved by the House. Again, waiting now on the Senate. That will be going into downtown, which will help expand access to care. And the third and last one I just quickly want to mention is Toberman Neighborhood Center. They had a request that we selected and that has passed, that we're waiting for. I think that's the one we're waiting for still, which is a San Pedro violence interruption through a gang deterrence program. So it's basically going out into the community to address gang violence and you know, be responsive to that. So I just wanted to provide a quick update. You should be seeing me around the district in the next, if you haven't yet, several weeks, going out to highlight some of our community projects. We're doing a town hall tomorrow night for in-home caregiving for people who want to get information about IHHS. If you have a loved one that's older who might need those services, or somebody on Medi-Cal, they may qualify. And there's also a federal component on top of IHHS hours that we are going to talk about on our town hall tomorrow night. So those are just some of the things coming up, and I just want to give you an update. I know you all have a super packed agenda, so I would just wrap it up, and feel free to reach out anytime that I can be helpful.
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's always a pleasure to see you and hear from you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good meeting.
I appreciate that. We all appreciate that. Okay. Next up on our agenda, we have the president's report. So I'll say that I got a very brief lesson from former President Ray Regalado on navigating the Zoom world. And so he's teaching me some of the pitfalls and the tips and tricks on that. And spoken to several of the board members about their committee interests, and that can change as time goes on and as we refine what our interests are and our skills are. And I got an invitation to go to the next Port's President's meeting, so I'll be going to that when that's monthly. That's all I have for the President's report. So we'll move on to item number 3, which is appointment of council members to fill vacant seats for Vista del Oro. And I'm going to turn it over to Committee Chair Diana Nave for part of it.
Thank you and good evening. It's weird, I can't find myself. As you're aware, we had 4 applicants who qualified for the 2 vacancies, the 2 vacant Vista del Oro positions. We asked them to introduce themselves and to answer 3 questions tonight. Those questions were, what inspired you to seek a seat on the board? What previous community experience do you bring to the board? And what committee or committees are you interested in serving on and why? Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to speak, and Victor will let them know when their time is up. We're going to have the candidates speaking in alphabetical order, but I'm not sure that they're all here, but I will go ahead and call the names in alphabetical order. And if someone is not here, we'll ask again at the end. And if they're still not here, then we'll just move on. So the first candidate is Mr. Robert Bryant. Bob?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
First, I would like to answer those 3 questions. Most important is to tell you about me. I served on this board for 11 years, was the editor for the newsletter for 8 years. On committees, I've served for, Port Committee, co-chair of Youth and Outreach, Issues, Budgets and Finance, and I worked with Gwen on her committee. I have served as vice president. In fact, when you went on vacation, I took care of the responsibility of being president. That was a very trying time. Was elected to the Coastal Neighborhood Council to try to help them. Because the chair, it became the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. In the community, I was regional commissioner of AYSO for 11 years, which I was in charge of 120 soccer teams, 1,400 children. I was chair of the St. Peter's Episcopal Day School for 6 years. I currently serve as the treasurer of Angels Gate High Railers. The most important statement is to explain why I resigned from the council. 3 years ago, I was told that I had cancer of the prostate. So I dealt with it. I chose to have 45 days of radiation. I chose to do this by myself and not make it public. I became very tired and I could not function as a council person, so I resigned. I feel great now. I've lost 60 pounds. I was born in San Pedro, and I feel like I still can help this council. Whether I'm chosen on the board or not, I would like to be a member of the Port Committee, the Safety and Budget.
2 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next candidate is Mr. Andrew Hogarth, who I've not seen. Is he here?
I don't know, but they all received an invitation via email, so we could check in with them in the meantime. Let's move on to the
See
next
him
candidate.
either.
What?
I do not see him either.
Okay, the third candidate is Dr. Thomas Norman, and he is here.
All right. Well, good evening and thanks everyone. My name's Tom Norman. I don't have to go by the doctor. I'm a professor at Dominguez Hills in Carson. I've been there 15 years now. We've been coming to San Pedro pretty much since we moved here. Got 3 kids. The oldest actually has served on here. Alec will be graduating from Pedro. And we moved into San Pedro directly about 10 years ago. In terms of community experience, I've been active in different areas that I've been, but in California, probably most relevant, I'm on the school-based management committee for San Pedro High School. I've served as a commissioner for the California State University for their extended universities, all 23 campuses, looking at how we outreach the community. I have served Holy Trinity School, where my kids went from K through 8 on their school board, was chair several years, and this year I'm leading the search for a new principal to replace Dr. Wiley. I'm a Rotarian here locally in the San Pedro Club. I now am on the foundation board for California State University, and I'm on their audit committee, which gives you some sense of some experience I have that might be relevant. In terms of committees, I'm pretty open. I've got a lot of background. I'm pretty strong in finance. If there's a need there, if that's popular. My passion is working with young people, at the university level and below. So that, community issues, sustainability is a big push with what we're doing. And I'm open to be placed wherever needed, should I be elected to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final candidate is David Samperio, who again, I have not seen. Is he here? No. Okay, thank you for that. That concludes the candidate statements. Mr. President, did you want to take any public comment before we proceed?
Yeah, let's take some public comment. If anyone wants to make comment on the candidates, you may do so now, and we will look for hands.
Are you limiting it in time?
Yeah, let's limit it to 1 minute each.
I see no hands.
Okay, moving on, then we will be voting for the 2, and I don't see it, the other 2 candidates have shown up unless someone else has seen them. Then what we're going to do is we'll vote for the 2 seats separately. According to our bylaws, it takes a majority of the votes cast to win, and the president votes only to break a tie. If no one gets a majority of the votes cast, there will be a runoff between the 2 highest vote getters. Once the first seat is filled, we'll then continue the process to fill the second seat. And just a further comment about Alec, as you know, Alec Norman currently holds one of the 2 seats until this election is completed. So he was ineligible to run again because a minimum age of 18 was imposed on that seat by the city. He is, however, eligible to run for the youth seat, which is scheduled to be filled at the October board meeting. So he is eligible to vote for both seats, and then after that will no longer be a voting board member. So with that, the secretary will call the roll, and we'll ask you to provide the name of the candidate. This time we choose 1 candidate of the 4. The 4 candidates again are Robert Bryant, Andrew Hovath, Thomas Norman, and David Samperio.
Diana, I'm not sure if I missed it, but do you want to mention the term lengths for the 2 positions?
They will
2
both
seats?
be 2-year term lengths. And when we fill a seat by the board, we always do it only until the next election. So they will both be 2 years.
Okay. Okay, then I will start the roll call. Armando?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear? Yes, I'd like to vote for Bob Bryant.
Okay, John Barbera.
Thomas Norman.
Vic Christensen, me, Thomas Norman as well. Maya's still not here. Nope, okay, John DeMiglio.
I'll vote for Bob Bryant.
Dan Dixon.
Thomas Norman.
Craig Goldfarb.
Aren't we supposed to be able to vote for 2?
We're doing it sequentially. We vote for one. Once that one's elected, then we will vote again and you'll vote for a second person.
Makes no sense.
It's because of the way the bylaws are worded, Craig.
Still
Thank you for
makes
the
no
clarification.
sense. Okay, Bob Bryant,
Cynthia Gagne, Cynthia, are you muted?
Bob Bryant,
Christian Guzman,
I'm not sure if there's a tie yet. Come back to me, please, Mr. Secretary.
oh, understand. Okay, Gwen Henry, Gwen, you need to unmute.
Thomas Norman,
Excuse, could you repeat that?
Thomas Norman,
Melanie LeBrecq,
Thomas,
Unmute.
Thomas,
Kelly Miller,
Thomas Norman,
Alec Norman,
I recuse myself because I'm related to one of the candidates.
okay, Adrianita,
Thomas Norman,
Angela Sumner,
Thomas Norman,
Chris Valle,
Thomas Norman? Oh,
um,
Maya is here. I'm going to transfer her over to panelist.
who?
Maya Denola is here.
Oh, she's here now? Okay. Since she didn't hear the two candidates, I assume we would leave her out of this vote.
No, she can still vote.
I also,
Okay.
sorry, I apologize. I did actually hear, I didn't realize I was signed in under my organizational Zoom and not my personal Zoom. And so I showed up. under
Oh,
the wrong
was that the
name.
Thank you,
Trump
Maya.
LA?
Thank you.
That was Trauma Informed LA. So I apologize for that.
Okay, so
Took me a
you
second
were
to figure
here,
it out.
you were here at the beginning.
I
In that case,
was.
what is your vote?
Thomas Norman. I apologize for the technical difficulty, but I will vote for Thomas Norman.
Okay, we have 4 votes for Bob Bryant and 10 for Thomas Norman.
So Thomas Norman has a majority, so Thomas Norman is elected to fill the first seat.
Congratulations, Councilman Norman.
Thank you.
That leaves 3 candidates. And so we'll take a vote on the 3. That leaves Andrew Hogarth, Bob Bryant, and David Samperio. So if you want to call
Yeah,
them
just
all
as a
again.
point of information, I did just receive a notice that Andrew had some sort of an emergency and cannot attend. So he was interested in attending, but he had an emergency and was not able to be here.
Thank you. Well, we still have 3 candidates to vote on, so it's.
Yes, you could still vote for him. Yes, please, Mr. Secretary, go ahead.
Okay, Armando. Now, this is
yes,
between,
David Santerio,
okay,
David Santerio.
John Barbera,
Yeah, you did.
David Semperio.
Vic Christensen, David Samperio, Maya Denola,
I'm sorry, did something go out with these people's names that I missed?
Yes, she must have missed it. There was an email that contained the names of the 4 candidates. Bob Bryant, David Samperio, Thomas Norman, and Andrew Hogarth.
I'm just going to abstain because I missed the email and therefore I don't feel comfortable voting.
Okay, thank you.
John DeMiglio,
Is it possible to come back to me?
We can come
Miss-
back, sure.
Okay.
What? What'd you say, Christian?
Go ahead, come back to him.
Okay, Dan Dixon,
Bob Bryant,
Craig Goldfarb,
Bob Bryant,
Cynthia Gagne.
Bob Bryant,
I assume come back to you, Christian, if there's a tie.
Yes.
Okay, Gwen Henry,
Bob Bryant.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Bob Bryant,
Kelly Miller,
David Santara, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name.
Alec Norman. Oh, are you still recused, right?
And he can vote if he chooses to.
Okay, Alec Norman.
Only can vote until the seat is filled.
Alec, is he still on?
I don't think so. I don't see him.
Let's come back
yeah,
to
he
him.
is.
We'll give him another
I,
chance.
he's
I
on?
see his name, but not his picture.
And video, but not, video is an option, but not audio. All right, we'll wait, let me see if there's something in the Q&A from him. Nope. Okay, we'll come back and see if he is back on. Adrianita,
Can you get back to me? Sorry.
it's gonna be pretty quick. There aren't many left. Angela Sumner. Angela,
Hi, sorry, I couldn't see the unmute button. It was like hidden somewhere. David Semperio, please.
Chris Valle,
David Semperio.
okay, coming back to John DeMiglio
David Semperio.
and Alec Norman, if he is available now. Something. Alec, if you can hear me, can you type something into the Q&A with your vote? Okay, I guess we'll have to just,
Yeah, we'll just put him as not voting. Go ahead.
just
With
pass that
Adrian
for now.
Yeah.
Who was the last one?
Adrianita.
Adrianita.
Yeah. David.
David. Oh, Semperio, okay. I count 5 for Bob Bryant and 8 for David Semperio. With 1 abstention and 1 other for Alec.
Okay, excellent. Well, we have 2 new councilmen then.
Thank you all for having run.
So now I believe we have Octaviano Rios with us from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So I'm going to invite him, if he'd like, to swear in the new board members. So let's make sure that he's available to talk.
I have promoted him to panelist.
Mr. Semperio, available for the swearing in?
I don't think he was here for whatever reason. They all received an email to attend, but as we saw with Andrew, sometimes life prevents things. But if Octaviano, if you're here, please swear in the new board member who we do have present, Mr. Norman or Dr. Norman.
Octavio,
All right, I think you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mr. Chair?
We can hear you.
All right, there's a little bit of delay like always here in transitioning to panelists, so thank you for your patience. And I also had to pull up the Neighborhood Council board member oath. So if we can focus on the 2 board members that just got voted in, if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. And again, my name is Octaviano Rios. I'm with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment.
Octaviano, one of them isn't here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to look at my screen here. So only Thomas is here? Thomas Norman?
That's correct.
Oh, there he is. Okay, perfect. Mr. Norman, thank you for raising your hand. So just repeat after me. I pledge to represent my neighborhood
I pledge to represent my neighborhood
with dignity, integrity, and pride.
dignity, integrity, and pride.
I will encourage other points of view,
I will encourage other points of view,
even when they differ from my own.
even when they differ from my own.
I will respect, value, and consider
I will respect, value, and consider
everyone's opinion.
everyone's opinion.
I will find the good in my neighborhood
I will find the good in my neighborhood
and praise it and promote it.
and praise it and promote it.
To my neighbors and to neighborhoods throughout the city of Los Angeles,
To my neighbors and my neighborhoods around the city of Los Angeles,
I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Mr. Thomas Norman. You are now part of the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, Mr. Norman. And just as a point of information, Octaviano, what can Councilman Norman vote on today?
Everything except funding items.
Okay, very good. So if it's the pleasure of the board, let us move on now to the next item, which is number 5, public comment on non-agenda items. So if anyone from the public has a comment they'd like to address with us that's not on our agenda today, you may do so now, and we will look for hands and then we will take them.
I see Tony Mercandante with his hand raised and Tim McCosker.
Okay, let's take Tony's comment and then we'll take Mr. McCosker.
Tony, you're live?
Hear me okay? This is Tony. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, having some computer difficulties, I apologize. My name is Tony Mercadante. I live in Northwest San Pedro. If Nana Berrigan is still on the phone, I just would like to remind her that somebody needs to fix Spirit Airlines with all their problems and also increase fines for people that are abusing flight crews up in the air. It's a big problem. Now back to San Pedro. Thank you for having this meeting. I want to bring to your attention, Laurie Martinez has introduced legislation to require proof of COVID vaccination to enter indoor public spaces throughout the city of LA. I think this is a reckless action. She is trying to create division in this city, in this community, especially among minorities that may not have as many people getting vaccinated. I would ask you all to consider a peaceful denouncement or recall of any councilman who agrees with her legislation. I don't know how Joe Buscano feels about that, but I think it's going to cause a lot of problems. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for the comment. Now, Mr. McCosker.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tim McCosker, Northwest Stakeholder. I wanted to congratulate Dr. Thomas Norman. I was so pleased to see him on agenda, and on his long and illustrious resume is at least one board that I served with him upon, and you will find him to be a great, knowledgeable, helpful, collaborative, collegial colleague, and you have an excellent board made even greater by Dr. Thomas Norman. Thank you.
What a compliment. Thank you again, Mr. McCosker. And I think we do look forward to getting to know Councilman Norman and working with him. Any other hands for public comment?
I see none.
Okay, excellent. Well, let us move on now to item number 6. This is a request from local and neighboring community member Doug Epperhart, and it is a possible action and resolution on proposed amendments to the Code of Conduct Policy submitted by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. And there is a possible resolution attached to the packet that we could choose to support today. So I'll let, if anyone's interested in supporting that, I will let them move that. And if we get a second, we will move on with that item. We'll take it up.
I'm interested in supporting it.
Who said that?
Armando.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mr. Armando Balderrama. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second by Councilman Dan Dixon. So any comment from the board, or should we take some public comment? And I think that Mr. Epperhart is here. So
Can
any comment from
can
the
we
board?
read the motion?
Yeah, we could read the motion. Would anyone like to screen share? Mr. Secretary or Vice President Vacant, would you like to screen share the resolution?
Please.
Give me just a moment, I'll pull it up. Can everyone see? Let me go ahead and zoom.
Yeah. And then if we want to focus in on the be it resolved clause, I think that's the meat of the action that would happen. Then we could come back if we'd like to the whereases for some discussion. Okay, excellent.
And this is, by the way, available on the website under agenda and supporting documents if any of you want to go through on your own devices and pull it up and read through separately.
Again, I asked for a reading.
Want us to read it to you?
Yes, I want all the stakeholders to be able to hear what it's being said.
We could read it. I think it's not too long. We could do that. And then why don't we popcorn it? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Vice President.
Okay. Everybody please mute. Whereas.
Yeah, let's read the be it further resolved part. And since you started and there are 3 parts, why don't we do sort of like popcorn? You can read the first 4 and I'll finish the last 5 so that our voices don't get too tired reading this thing.
That's fine. All right. So be it further resolved that item 1, Bonk is strongly advised to immediately withdraw consideration of the proposed amendments to the Code of Conduct. Article 2, in connection with future revisions of neighborhood council paperwork, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment shall request that neighborhood councils appoint a group of representatives to consult with Bonk, Dunn, and the city attorney on an ad hoc basis. Number 3, an aggregate majority of those meetings shall at all times be neighborhood council board members. Number 4, the initial focus of this group shall be to develop and incorporate rules under the city's recently adopted workplace violence policy into the existing code of conduct, including appropriate enforcement actions.
Okay, now we have number 5, which is discussion about incorporating the proposed workplace equity policy shall be deferred until such a policy is formally adopted by the city, if at all. And number 6, any amendments to the code of conduct must take into account varying degrees of conduct when considering suspension and appropriate penalties if warranted. Number 7, at all times, policy should require that the minimum correction necessary to address any issue be used. 8, no person shall be suspended or otherwise penalized for that which is protected political speech. Number 9, no board member or neighborhood council affiliate shall be required to waive rights granted under the Constitution of the United States and the state of California, including but not limited to freedom of speech and assembly, probable cause, and due process. So that is the resolution, the resolved part. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for introducing it. And let's have some discussion on it now. We could have some of the board members, and I think some members of the public might have more information on the history of it if we're interested on the background of that. But I see your hand, Mr. Vice President.
Actually, Dan's was up first, and then I think Melanie and Gwen.
Okay, Councilman Dixon, go ahead.
Please back the resolution up because it started with "be it further resolved." I did not see the first "be it resolved," which is the Northwest Neighborhood Council expresses grave concern over the proposed amendments. I just want to read that to the Code of Conduct. Oh.
Which part, Dan?
All right, I give up on that. I think this is a hugely important issue, and I think we need to carve a little time out of this meeting to actually read the entire motion and then have a brief discussion. And it can be silent reading, but we need to go back up to the top of the page if we're going to do that. Just my suggestion.
I appreciate that, Councilman, and we could certainly do that. I think, especially since this is a freedom of speech issue, I think time is warranted on it. So if that is the desire of multiple members, let's do that. Let's hear other comments first, though. We had Melanie, Madam Treasurer, Melanie Lebrecht, please go.
Yeah, I was at the Hank meeting, and one big meat of this whole thing is we really need to see the changes that they're making to the Code of Conduct. Because part of this, I mean, this is like really, really big. They are taking what it says here: if a board member or committee member is alleged to have violated either the city's workplace equity policy or the commission's Code of Conduct, the department, with written approval from the general manager, may immediately suspend the board member or committee member for a period of up to 90 days. Now, remember what alleged means. Alleged means that without proof taken place or have specified illegal or understatable quality. So that's like saying that you're alleged to do something, said that you did something, and you get two people together saying so-and-so did this, and they can suspend you and remove you for 90 days based on something someone said. They play telephone and say it, and you're removed. It is not right to have something, the wording alleged in there. No, everybody is innocent until proven guilty in anything. This is what happened to Cheryl when they removed Cheryl. They had unfounded things. They didn't even tell her what she did, and she was removed. I think it's very important that we really get serious about this, because it's the livelihood of neighborhood councils, and it's wrong. It's wrong in every way.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Mr. Vice President, and then we'll have Councilwoman Henry.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the broad strokes of this are very troubling. I mean, for me, really, the big picture is almost more troubling than any of these troubling details. One being that it seems to, I would wonder what the motivation would be to put something so provocative, and I would dare to call it a little reckless, out there for neighborhood council staff to contend with. What is I don't know that they think this is going to go unchallenged, or that this is not going to inspire many other board members like ourselves to kind of, take up the pitchforks and torches. I think it is intended to have a chilling effect overall. I don't know if there are any specific cases that this is intended to deal with or prevent. But, it's pretty clear that putting something in place that would simply allow someone to be removed for up to 90 days based on hearsay, it's reckless. And I'd be really interested to know if the people at Dunn ever called anybody over at the city attorneys or any other attorney to see if this was even viable. It seems like a non-starter, and yet here we are having to discuss it. So I think there's a point to this being introduced other than whatever the stated intent is. There's clearly more to this, and I think we should be as upset about their tone and their general approach as any of the specific things here, which are themselves entirely unacceptable. So tear it up.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Councilwoman Henry, and then we'll have Councilmember Goldfarb.
For those of you who are participants, and again for the for our board members, I wanted to provide the link to the original document that was a discussion document, a letter that has caused this feedback that is being proposed right here for a vote. I wanted to put it in the Q&A link, the direct link to it, but without that ability, I'm unable to put a comment in Q&A. Those of you who have a computer in front of you, if you put in the keywords into Google, Code of Conduct, Amendment, and Empower LA, all one word, Empower LA, it will come up first, and it will be the Code of Conduct Amendment, Empower LA. If you choose that PDF document, you can review it, and that is the originating document for which this is a reply that was submitted to the Harbor Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, and we are currently considering it. Thank you.
We still have Craig and Thomas Norman's hand is raised as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Goldfarb.
Am I
then we'll have-
recognized?
Yes.
Okay. One, I downloaded everything on August 6th, and this was not in the packet. And when I'm looking on it, it shows that it was put in there on Sunday, which means that we have to have it, all motions have to be in there 3 days beforehand. Not that I find anything wrong with this, but we're mandated to follow certain procedures.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Goldfarb. And we had the motion on the agenda, but I think you're right, it wasn't added to the packet until later. So we should always strive to add the documents to the packet as early as possible, but it is here now. We read it and we can discuss it. And the item was on the agenda when the agenda was posted. Mr. Norman.
Yes, thank you. One of my questions was answered. I'm trying to find the entire document before kind of voting on it. Sometimes you need to see things in context to fully understand what the implications are. But I certainly share sentiments expressed earlier today that this seems incredibly troubling. It seems like a vast overreach. And, I wonder if city councilors would be willing to have the same type of treatment, right? If they could lose their seats for 90 days without question. So, from what I see, I express the same concerns we've heard. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a comment from Councilmember Maya Denola, and then we'll have Councilmember Dan Dixon.
Thank you. So sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. So seeking some clarification on what I understand to be happening. So I looked at that original document. Thank you for providing that. And it looks like based on complaints, comments, etc., previous to this, a request was made for some kind of amendment to happen because there was conduct that was taking place that was not appropriate, is my reading of it. If I'm reading this document that you have on the screen correctly, it does say, I'm just trying to see if I can see where I saw that now. It does include a clause that states that investigation must take place before any of this happens. Having said that, I think that I would agree with the previous comments that this does seem like an overreach. And that stating at one point, it gives the entire power of decision-making to the department. If the neighborhood councilors are supposed to be some kind of democratic counterbalance to the other power structures, then this eliminates that from happening in many ways. Perhaps just really poorly worded, this document. But that's kind of my understanding. Conduct took place, a request was made for the issues with the conduct to be addressed, and this is what they came up with. And what we're being asked here is whether or not we approve of this draft language. Am I correct in my understanding? Somebody can just clarify that for me. I know I said a whole bunch of jumbled
That is
things,
correct.
but okay. So yeah.
Let's take a comment from Councilmember Dan Dixon, and then we have some members of the public who would like to comment, and I would like us to hear from them as well.
Thank you. If Doug Epperhart, if you're there, what's the timeline on this? If we need to think about this longer or learn more about it, is this something that needs to be acted on immediately? Also, given the fact that it may not have been properly posted for the agenda.
Okay, very good. Yes, Doug Epperhart, if you are here, please give comment.
Okay, thank you. Couple of things with regard to your agenda. The Brown Act requires that you provide a description of an item to be discussed 72 hours in advance. It does not in any way, shape, or form require that you include the actual written motion. And in fact, under the Brown Act, you could write your own motion at a meeting as long as you put it on the agenda that you're going to discuss it. I do not know if you have a standing rule or anything in your bylaws that requires this, but there's nothing within the law that requires that. Okay, secondly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, secondly, this landed on the desk of the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners July 19th. The Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, City Attorney, City Personnel Department, and some other agencies were involved in drafting this. Basically, and just to let you know, I had a 3-hour conversation with Commissioner Lynn Schaefer, who was one of the 2 members of BONC who were involved in drafting this. They were considered to be representing all 1,800 neighborhood council board members because Lynn is president of the neighborhood council, I guess. This is based on employment law in essence. And in terms of the code of conduct basically becoming an employment contract between neighborhood council board and committee members, who may be non-board members, agreeing to waive rights to due process and allowing the general manager in essence to, based on an allegation, and the word is there, perhaps even an anonymous allegation, to suspend board members up to 90 days and potentially refer them to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners for removal. What this motion, which is drafted by folks from all over the city, okay, at least, I don't know, a dozen, 20 of us, I forget how many were involved in those emails, primarily on behalf of the LA Neighborhood Councils Coalition, drafted this motion, which basically within this wording says 3 things. Pull the current proposed amendments off the desk right now. Set up a group, including a majority of neighborhood council board members, currently serving neighborhood council board members, to meet with the bureaucrats and develop solutions. I would point out to everybody that we have a censure removal policy from the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners that was intended to deal with the problem children of neighborhood councils. That has failed. We've had a grievance process set up as a bond policy to deal with those same problem children. That has failed. This policy is intended to be the magic wand that Dunn gets to wave and make those problem children disappear, at least for 3 months. My greatest concern is this. Individuals who are truly threatening are subject to the same laws as everyone else. I've done this for 20 years. I've seen some incredible bad behavior on the part of neighborhood council people. As president of Coastal San Pedro, I've had a meeting where I had officers, police officers, throw people in the audience out of the meeting. I've seen it all. And when done and the authorities want to deal with it, they can deal with it. What this is about are board members who are perhaps unpleasant, who are perhaps rude, who perhaps make others uncomfortable, but who don't necessarily break the rules. That's the great danger here, is that this is about the threat from the bureaucrats to put you in timeout as if you're all children. I've seen in this San Pedro of ours badly behaved board members, but I can't say I've ever really, at least in the last 5 or 6 years, seen any whose behavior would rise to the point of being suspended. So I urge you to adopt this. By the way, timelines, before I forget, there are going to be 4 workshops. The first is August 30th. Here's why it's important for you to be able to vote on this tonight, so that a representative from your council can go to the first workshop on the 30th and say, we've taken a position, and speak officially. Otherwise, you're going to have to do it as individuals until you vote on this. One more thing, Lank took this up, the LA Neighborhood Council Coalition, on Saturday. There were no amendments, no changes. They liked it. They voted on it overwhelmingly to support it. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Doug. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak at these meetings. I saw another member from the public, Laurie Jacobs. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Christian. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. One, as requested, I put the link to the Empower LA motion in the Q&A, so everybody can see the content of the original motion. I find this proposal horrific. There's no due process, and it's pretty much guilty until proven innocent. So, and pretty much agree with everything Doug said. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Vice President and Mr. Secretary, let's keep checking on if anyone else from the public would like to speak, but we have Madam Treasurer, go ahead.
Yeah, Doug. So it was my understanding at Hank that what Ms. Beltrain said is that anybody could attend that on the 30th at 6 p.m.
Correct.
Okay, so any of you guys interested in this about changes or input, you can attend on the 30th. The link isn't up yet for the Zoom link for it, but it'll be on Zoom the August 30th at 6 p.m. The other thing was, one of the things that at Hank that I had said to Ms. Beltrain, our head of Empower LA, is that we, is City Council and Empower LA employees being held to the same code of conduct? Why are neighborhood councils who aren't even paid being held to this rigid of a code of conduct? And anything alleged, we could be suspended for 30 days or 90 days and held accountable for by hearsay.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to say that I'm pretty proud that we're taking this up today, because this is one of the most essential things for us to do, which is to protect our sovereignty and to protect the foundation of freedom of speech, I believe. So thank you for having this discussion with me tonight, and I do hope that we oppose this. But does anyone else have comment? Otherwise, we can take a vote.
I'd like to call for a vote.
Okay, well, if it's the pleasure of the board, let's take a vote on whether to adopt this resolution, which we read and discussed. And Mr. Secretary, when you're ready, please go ahead.
I need to ask a quick question of Octaviano. Since David Semperio has not officially been sworn in yet, should he be considered eligible to vote and absent, or just ineligible?
They can't vote until they've done their training, Vic.
He said they could vote on everything but funding issues.
I think that it's relatively informal, the swearing in, but if Octaviano is here, please answer the question. Otherwise, I would just do not voting.
Well, he's still showing up on the list.
He's in attendees, but I don't hear him.
Okay. Let's go ahead and call everyone else, and then we'll come back to Octaviano on that name.
Okay. Then first, Armando.
Yes.
And just to make sure, we are voting on the resolution to oppose the original amendments, correct?
That's it. That is correct, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, so Armando, you're still yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, yes. Maya Dinola,
Yes.
John DeMiglio,
Abstain.
Dan Dixon,
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Cynthia Gagne,
Again, sorry, yes.
Christian, well, we'll come back to you too, Christian. Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Adrianita,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll come back to you first, Christian. Are you going to vote on this since it's
I
not a
would
tie?
I would like to vote yes on this.
Okay.
Yes.
And now the question about David Semperio.
Yeah, so if Octaviano is here, if you heard the question, please answer it. Otherwise, let's put not voting. Well, actually, he's not present, so we could just put not present.
Well, right, but I didn't know if we should put absent because he's not
Yeah.
present, or ineligible because he hasn't been sworn in.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, just we may need
Vic,
to circle.
this is not
Octaviano's here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Octaviano. Have you heard the question? The question is. Okay,
Put
go
not,
ahead.
put not present, not placing him as absent would, we need to revisit that because he didn't know if he was going to be appointed to the board or not. So it shouldn't he shouldn't have to be docked for not being present at a meeting he didn't know he was going to be appointed to. So Mr. Chair, let's discuss that offline and we can revisit revising the minutes if need be. Okay,
very good, very succinct. Mr. Secretary, what is the vote? What did it turn out?
Okay, so if we had, so that should, well, let me double check. I believe I have the number, but. Okay, 15 ayes, 1 abstention, 1 yet to be determined. So it definitely carries.
Very good. I'm pleased to hear that. Congratulations on defending democracy and sovereignty. Okay. Let's move on to item number 7, which is the public officials report. So if we have any elected and government representatives who'd like to give a report, we heard from our local congresswoman earlier. We were happy to have her here. Do we have anyone else or any of their representatives? Okay. Do we have any of the budget representatives report? So Melanie Lebrecq or Laurie Jacobs, would you like to give a report on that? And then we'll go right into the budget advocate report after that.
There is no report at this time.
Okay.
And I don't think a budget advocate is here.
Okay. Next, we have-
Mr. President, I see that the Officer Dan Brown is here.
Yeah, we're going to move on to number 8, which is the public safety representative. So we're moving right into that. So item number 8, public safety representatives, and I think we do have Officer Brown. Officer Brown was kind enough to submit a written report before the meeting, and I think the goal that I discussed with several members of the executive committee is for us to try to get those written reports earlier, kind of like item number 6, so that the public has more time to review those things. But Officer Brown, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, I did submit a report, but it was very late. It was earlier today. So I know that many of you have not had a chance to review those numbers. Not used to doing it that way, so that's my fault. I just didn't think about it until I reviewed my schedule today and realized I was to be at this meeting. So I will still keep it brief, though. I know you guys discussed a lot already, and time is always an issue, as there's always a lot to discuss. But the bottom line is, just doing a real brief summary, is that crime for this month, July of 2021, as compared to the July of last year, felt exactly the same as far as overall Part 1 crime numbers. So we had 77 Part 1 crimes in my larger area, which was the same as last year. As far as the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council area goes, there is actually quite a significant drop, about, 8 crimes total. So 37 this year, 45 last year, which equates to about an 18% drop. The biggest drops came in burglary and theft from motor vehicle. But we did have a significant increase in simple theft. So like unattended property, porch pirate type things, or shoplifting, that kind of thing. But included in those BFMV numbers are the catalytic converters. And those have been really bad this month. There were a total of 7 catalytic converters taken in my entire area. I don't have those numbers broken down for the Northwest area, but I know it's in that area as well. So I'm just going to keep it brief, just like that, and open up to Q&A, and I'll let the president dictate how much time we have for that.
Yeah, President Guzman has stepped away from the microphone briefly, so I'll be handling this part of the meeting. We're going to take about 5 minutes for succinct questions for Officer Brown. Does anybody from the board or our attendees have anything? And seeing and hearing none.
And that's
maybe,
okay.
Yeah, you get off light this month.
All right. You guys can always reach me by email if you guys have any questions, but I'll go ahead and mute myself now and let you guys carry on.
Thank you very much, Officer Brown. We'll catch you later on. Stay safe.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to see you again and hear from you, Officer Brown. So again, let's review that report earlier before the next meeting in September, and we might have some time to formulate some good questions on that. And we'll move right on to the consent calendar then. So I'll read the note. Yeah, I'll read the note, which is consent calendar items are not controversial and will be treated as one agenda item. There will be no discussion of these items unless an item is removed from the consent calendar, which you could ask to remove them, in which case it will be considered as time allows on the regular agenda. So we have 3 parts to it, which is A, B, C, and D. And now, are there any requests for them to be taken up separately?
Christian, you forgot CPAB, point of order.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Well, go ahead, Melanie, and then we'll come back to number 10.
If it's in the packet, we probably don't need to go over it. It was submitted way ahead of time for people to review. So I think probably Dan's stuff was on it. I think point of interest that was given at CPAB probably is there was some concerns brought up at CPAB regarding people that from citizens that were there with different things where they got the feeling that cops were instructed that they were not to arrest. And I guess an officer had said that to certain witnesses, not to arrest any homeless people, that it was an order, and it was brought up to the captain. So there was a couple of incidents that going on in Central San Pedro with 15th Street Elementary, lewd conduct at the school, and then the person's moved to 12th Street School and doing lewd conduct there. And so what should they do? Harbor Highlands individual, there was more information on that he was detained and then let go, but then he went to Big Nick's and did damaged property. So then he was caught again and arrested. And he's been a habitual offender. So he hopefully will see the jail a little longer. They tried to emphasize that there's a lot of doorstep mail theft going on. And so that because of that, you need to start using Amazon lockers or try and do something if you aren't going to be home with your packages. They summed up that the Averill Park guy that was pepper spraying the dogs and pepper spraying people, he did have his day in court finally, and he has a restraining order on him where he has to be 100 feet from the park. If he's in the park, call the cops, he will be arrested. They talked about that community partnership in neighborhood watches is really important, and it's really helped the SLOs collect information and to fight crime in the areas and to collectively get the people that are causing the crime. And so join your neighborhood watches and be part of it. So there's several hands up. So Cynthia.
Oh, I had a question on C.
Okay.
Not a question. I'd like it to be removed because it isn't totally correct. And I had sent an email to the president about it.
Yeah, I think that was a reference to the next item, Melanie. Does anyone have any comment on the CPAP report? Because if not, we'll move on to item 10.
You, Craig?
Yeah, okay. I wasn't attending the meeting in person.
I was too on Facebook. I couldn't get, I did the Facebook Live because I didn't receive.
No, I understand. I was just saying I was there in person and I saw, and one of the things that I thought was of note that you didn't have in your report was I believe it was Flo Lopez reported on the tiny homes at Harbor College, and he was very enthused and said that they worked. So I thought it was a great thing to note that those tiny homes are working, and that the SLO of the area thought they were very helpful.
Yeah, I just figured Laurie would have that in her homeless liaison report. So,
Councilwoman Maya Denola, did you have a comment on this item or the next one?
It's on this item. It's more a comment on something I've raised before. Officer Dan Brown is still here. Happy to see that. So I just would like to request that as members of the neighborhood council, that we all make an effort to use inclusive language and to understand the dangers of labeling people or calling for people to see, and I apologize, this is not a personal dig, I'm just going to quote it, to see the inside of a jail. That simply goes contrary to everything that we are now learning. I'm seeing about community policing, about changing the incarceration systems, and about improving our neighborhoods and communities. That model is an old model, which has been proven time and again to be unsuccessful. And I would just like to urge all of us to really be conscientious and aware of the language that we use as we talk about other members of our community that may be suffering or experiencing realities in different ways than the rest of ours are. So a point to language, I'd like to see us all work on improving that. And then to Officer Brown, again, this is a repeat from the last conversation where I raised the issue that things like this, I think, I'd like to really circle back and hear what exactly Harbor Division is doing to implement more social services in place of policing. Clearly, the attempts to police this particular individual out of the behavior have failed miserably, if he is indeed a habitual, as he was called. So again, I'd love to hear what other solutions are being proposed by the Harbor Division and what the thinking is from the police officers on addressing these types of crimes in a more community-orientated fashion that brings in social services and not jails, because jails do not.
Okay.
Thank
you, Councilwoman. Let's move on now to item number 10. And I think we did have a recommendation to pull item number C, so we can consider that separately. How about items A, B, and D? Can we consider those as a part of the consent calendar? Okay, well, is there a motion to approve items A, B, and D then?
So moved.
So moved.
Not yet, because I have a hand up.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, what is your comment?
Two things. One, my name is misspelled in multiple places in the June 2021 board minutes.
Oh.
The only place it's spelled correctly is at the attendees list at the top. Everywhere else in the document, it is TIANSEN instead of TENSEN. The other correction is that for the election for secretary, it currently says Guzman was nominated by Vic Christensen. I believe that's reversed. I think it was Christian who nominated me. So if not, it was somebody else, but obviously since you're president, you weren't nominated by me to be secretary. So that
Good
needs to be corrected.
Comments. So you're asking essentially, let's take that up separately as well with those corrections. Any other corrections to the minutes?
Yes, there is one more correction.
Not for me.
Okay. Go ahead. Who else has? So without objection, we're taking up this item separately. What's the other correction?
That Chris Valle was nominated by myself, Gwen Henry.
Okay. All right, Mr. Secretary, let's take this vote then on approval of the June 2021 board and stakeholder meeting minutes as corrected, and we will correct. Yes, with corrections.
So we're voting right now. We are voting on that as a single item. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
With corrections?
Yes.
Okay. So for, well, since we did the motion before I gave my piece and Gwen gave hers, do we need to remove that? And if so, let's do it. If not, then tell me who moved and seconded.
Well, there was really no formal, well, actually, you sort of informally requested to remove it, and then I recognized you. So we're just kind of doing this by general consent. So you can put in the minutes by general consent, we're taking up item A.
Point of clarification, is this just item A or are we doing A, B, and D still?
We're doing only A because it was discussed separately.
Okay, so on item A only with corrections, Armando. Unmute, Armando. Okay, we'll come back. John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, yes. Maya Genola.
Yes.
John DeMiglio.
Yes.
Dan Dixon.
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb.
Yes.
Cynthia Gagne,
Yes, sorry, Vic.
Kristen Guzman,
Yes.
Gwen Henry,
Yes. You can hear me?
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Armando, are you back? Okay, don't know where he went.
You can just
So-
put not voting then. Put not voting for the minutes then, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, of those present for the vote, it was unanimous.
Very good. Okay, so Mr. Vice President, would you like me to recognize that motion to approve B and D now, I guess it would be, since A was taken out? You want to continue that to moving that, Mr. Vice President?
Yes, please.
Okay, is there a second on that to approve B and D?
Gwen Henry seconds.
Okay, so it's moved by Mr. Vice President, seconded by Councilmember Henry. Mr. Secretary, please take the roll.
Armando. We'll come back. John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, yes. Maya Denola,
Yes.
John D'Amiglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb,
Unmute, Greg.
unmute Craig,
Yes.
Cynthia Gagne,
Yes.
Christian Guzman,
I'm going to abstain from this one.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
and Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Okay, Armando, are you back? Okay, we have unanimous except for one abstention.
Okay, very good, Mr. Secretary. Next, we'll take up item C. So let me preface that by saying that in my own determination through talking to various board members and thinking on it myself and consulting some committee chairs, I have prepared this list of possible appointments of committee chairs and members as well as liaisons. And now we have the opportunity to make some adjustments to that if we'd like. If we would like to do that, then we'll probably take individual votes on the different committees then. So Cynthia had a comment first. So go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, I had asked for the port committee and or the election, probably and because it doesn't meet very often, election and bylaws, and to continue being the LA film liaison. And I got another committee. So I was just wanting to know if I could go on the port committee. You said if it had 3 or less members that I could, and it does. And you also said I could be the liaison if I want. So that was it.
Yeah, so I would definitely encourage, if you want to make a motion to add yourself as film liaison, I would support that. I would support a second on that. As far as elections, you would also perhaps make a motion on that, or if you'd like to combine it, we could see if no one would object to combining those two things at the same time for a vote. And then as far as port, I wanted to keep it lean at the beginning. So hence 3 board members. So that is my choice again, after thinking on it and discussing it with other board members. And I'd like to keep it lean with 3 at the beginning.
Okay. So I should make a motion? You're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to allow Cynthia Gagne, myself, to be member of the Election and Bylaws Committee and to be the LA Film Liaison.
Second.
Okay. Okay. There was a second on that. So if there's no discussion, we can take a roll call vote.
Mr. President, I see hands from Diane. Well, I see a hand from Diana Nate and from Gwendolyn Henry.
Okay, let's take Diana's comment and then we'll take Gwen's comment.
So I have got to unmute. My comment was not related to that immediate motion. It was related to the planning committee. So when, after you take this action, you can come back to me.
Okay, Gwen.
My question is, we are currently just voting for this particular aspect, and we will continue on with discussion, correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Hands down.
Well, if there's no objection, just to try to make this go smoother.
Communicator device here.
Okay, Councilmember Armando, we're talking specifically about Cynthia wanting to be on elections, the committee, and then the film liaison. So if your comment is on something other than that, then you can comment on that afterward.
Okay, I just want you to know I'm good to go now.
Okay, that's good news. That's good news. If there's no objection, then I would say let's add Cynthia to the list on film liaison and elections and bylaws. Okay, very good. So Diana, did you want to take up the planning committee now?
Yeah, thank you. I had just heard from Jan Kane today that she wanted to stay to be on the planning committee again this year. I had not put her name on the list. So if you are agreeable to that, I'd like to recommend that you add her back into the planning committee.
Okay, so as noted earlier, I took most of July to reach out to council members and committee members, and Diana as planning chair and I were in discussion about the planning and land use committee membership. And as she just said, Jan didn't get back to us, so we assumed she wanted to be removed. Apparently she'd like to be put back on it. So does anyone else have comment though on the planning and land use committee in general though, before we take that one membership up? Yes, Mr. Secretary.
That wasn't on the question that I had. It was for just to verify who seconded the motion for Cynthia. Was that Craig?
Oh, it was Dan.
Dan Dixon.
Dan.
Dan? Okay.
Very good. Okay, then. Well, why don't, if there's no objection, then let's add Jan Kane to the planning committee.
That be an
Okay, very
aye
good.
vote? Would that be an oral I vote nay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hearing an objection to it, so we can just put it in the minutes as general consent on that since it's relatively non-controversial. I think some of us know Jan and have worked with her and be welcome to work with her again. Okay. So would anyone else like to consider the other committees separately and give comment on that? Mr. Secretary.
Not one of the committees, but the liaison, I would, I don't think there's any reason to change Laurie Jacobs from being the homeless liaison. She's been doing a good job, and as they say, if it ain't
No,
broke,
no,
don't
I
fix
got
it.
it. I got a problem with that, mister. I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
No, no.
Let's come to order. Mr. Secretary was recognized, so let's finish hearing his comment and then we can discuss that. Yes, go ahead.
right.
Finish your comment, Mr. Secretary.
Just the end might have gotten over there. I just said she's been doing a good job. She knows what she's doing, and there's no need to fix something that isn't broken.
Fuck you.
Okay. Whoa, let's come to order. We encourage freedom of speech as long as it's to the measure of the motion. And right now we're discussing committee membership and hopefully positive contributions by the committee members. So,
Mr. President, point of order.
yes,
That
go ahead,
was
Mr. Vice President.
that was a clear violation of our code of conduct. That was
Yes.
abusive. So we need to call it out. Stop the
I
proceedings
agree.
and-
I do agree. This format is really it's not a good avenue to use expletives directed to someone in a negative or a pseudo violent way. So let's have a positive discussion on what we can contribute to this. And then if we need to, we can revisit sort of code of conduct afterward with the appropriate city attorney or the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So we'll do that offline though. That's unacceptable. So we will not have that. But just to,
I'd like to add.
yeah, go ahead, Mr. Vice President.
Process for everybody. Please, if you do not have the floor or if the question is not directed to you, please mute yourself. I will be riding the throttle in terms of muting you, just for the sake of keeping the background noise down and making sure people aren't accidentally on a hot mic. But please do not unmute yourself. If it's not your turn to speak, I will mute you.
Yeah, that was a very good note. If you're not discussing something, you can stay muted or you will be muted. So prior to the meeting, I had determined that I wanted to have some liaison participation by an actual council member. So discuss that with Laurie and Armando separately. And assuming that all council members are going to be positive in their diction, I would think that my choice is to have Armando Balderrama be the liaison. If you'd like to vote on that, we can vote on it. I don't know if Laurie wants to be the liaison, but you're welcome to move that, Mr. Secretary, or whoever else.
I see a hand up from Dan. Is that about this particular item?
Yeah, what is the reason you seek to be recognized, Council Member Dan Dixon? And you are muted currently.
He is waving his hands, perhaps.
Also, while we're waiting, is there any way we can put up the list of the current list of committee and liaisons so everybody else can see it too?
We could do that. I think that you and Mr. Vice President have screen share capability. So if you want to go to the website and put the current liaisons up, we could do that. Sure.
I'll go find that. And while we're dealing with Dan as well, Craig has got his hand up after that.
Hello. I can't figure a way to put my hand up on this. I'm sorry.
Is that Armando?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Armando.
figure
Armando,
out
the
how-
lower
Yeah.
thing, it says lower, it shows a hand, and that's how you raise your hand.
Yeah, we don't all have the same interface, so it depends on what device you use.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Goldfarb.
Minister. Okay. So I was wondering if I could be added on as a secondary for CPAB, since I was planning on going anyways. And I was wondering if I could be one of the budget reps because I was planning on going to the budget marathon meeting in a couple weeks.
Okay, so since those are two different ones, why don't we take them separately, or you could try to do it. Let's take them separately. If you don't have an objection, why don't you go ahead and move that for the CPAB one first?
Okay, I moved to be as a secondary for the CPAB seat.
Second.
Okay, it was moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, I think I see Madam Treasurer, go ahead.
Who's gonna write the report then?
I said just as a secondary, but you can write the report or we can work on the report, whatever
Or
you
we
want to
could do
do.
it together if you want. I have no problem working with you doing it.
Okay, then we'll work together on it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay.
Very good. There's no other comment. And if it's by general consent, we can add him to be the CPAB alternate then. Okay, very good. Go ahead and do the other one. What was that one, Craig? Budget rep?
Yeah, the budget rep. I
Okay,
moved
go
that
ahead.
I be placed on as budget rep.
Second.
Okay, it was moved and seconded. Is there any comment on that one?
Yes, I would ask that I stay the budget rep also for the two budget reps for the neighborhood council.
I think that's a given.
I see Gwen's hand raised as well.
Yes.
Point of clarification.
Gwen, go ahead.
Point of clarification, is there one budget rep or two?
There are two of them. It is by default the treasurer and the president. And I think if another council member would like to be the other budget representative, I think that's excellent. So someone else could also be the budget rep. I don't know if anyone else is interested in that tonight.
I think we had said that I wanted to still stay as budget rep and then Craig.
Yeah, I saw that. Laurie Jacobs has her hand up from the public. What is your comment?
Hi there, Christian. I've tried to stay out of this and just listen. I did express an interest in wanting to continue as the homelessness liaison. I was willing to step aside, but I'm pretty horrified that you would allow somebody to use the type of language we just heard and let him hold that position. I abide by whatever you decide, but that's just not right.
Okay, I appreciate that. It was at a forum for the board to decide democratically, and I think we did. But you are correct in that our conduct should be relative. It should be positive. The nature of the language should be focused on the issues at hand. Currently, we're talking about the budget representatives, though. So, Mr. Secretary, did you have a comment on budget representatives? And then I think we had Maya.
No, but when the time comes, I want to go back to the homelessness liaison because I didn't think that had been decided yet.
I agree with this.
Thank you.
Can I
That was my comment as well. I'm utterly
I'd like to have my
confused.
hand up, please, Mr. President. I'm trying to get my hand up, but I can't seem to figure out how to do it on this device.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Balderrama. So
I have a thing.
We had the comment from Mr. Secretary on whether or not we finished that. I'm not sure. We could consult the minutes. I thought we did, but I mean, we can always revisit it. It's possible to do. And then
I don't think
Maya agreed with that.
Yeah, we
And
did not finish it.
Go ahead and give your comment, Armando.
Thank you very much. I'd like to apologize to everyone. I was having problems. I'm having a very bad Parkinson's day today. I'm having tremendous shakes. and I'm having freeze moments where I actually freeze up and I can't move. I was trying to, when I use that verb, I was trying to hit the buttons and I couldn't hit them in time. And I apologize because that language is not proper. I agree. And I was cussing out my handheld device, which isn't really a good handheld device when you're shaking so much. So I apologize for that, sincerely. And I'd like to know when I can make a comment regarding reasons why I'd like to be the liaison.
Yeah.
Listen, because I have very good reason.
Sure. So why don't we do it this way then? Let's take nominations for the homelessness liaison position. And then after we get a couple nominations, we'll do it similar to the election of the officer or the election of the council members earlier. And we'll do it by majority vote. So we have one nomination, which would be for consideration, which was Armando. And we also had Laurie Jacobs as the previous representative, and then we could have more. And I would say that I would like the board to decide this themselves, because it was my determination initially to have whoever was proposed, but I am one person, and so I'm using the judgment that I can do. And then it's always welcome to have more than one perspective though. So let's have some nominations now. So who would like to nominate for homelessness liaison?
Point of
Go ahead,
clarification,
Mr.
there were a couple of hands raised before this. I didn't know if they referred to the homelessness liaison discussion or if they were unrelated. So I see John DeMeglio and Kelly Miller, and now Vic. I wanted to make sure that I want to find out if their comments are related to which item.
Yeah, I see. I definitely appreciate that, Mr. Vice President, but I think that this is kind of a pressing issue. So my intent was to have us take it up and then solve that and then go back to the rest of the list.
I'd like to nominate Laurie Jacobs for homelessness liaison.
Okay, so we have one nomination, which would be Laurie Jacobs. Are there any other nominations? And I think we had, I don't know, John DeMeglio, if you had your hand up for that. Did you want to make a nomination for the homelessness liaison? Okay, Cynthia, did you want to make a nomination?
Yes, Mr. Balderrama, if he's still considering running for it.
Okay, so we have two nominations for homelessness liaison. Are there any other proposed people to fill that responsibility?
Yeah, I was muted. Can you come back to me? As John DeMeglio. Somebody muted me.
I asked you to unmute, but it wasn't going.
No.
Go
no,
ahead, Mr. DeMeglio. Do you have a nomination?
Somebody intentionally muted me. I unmuted me and somebody else muted me.
Okay.
We hear you.
Mr. DeMeglio, do you have a nomination?
Yeah.
For homelessness
I'm going to
liaison.
nominate Armando because he's a board member. Laurie
Okay.
was rejected by the community. So we
Okay,
need to
appreciate that. Well, we'll take the discussion afterward. So we have two nominations still. Armando was already nominated and he accepted the nomination.
Point of
Point of order.
Yeah.
Point
Yeah,
of order.
Let us come to order now. I don't have a gavel. I don't think there's a gavel function on the Zoom, but if it were, you can just imagine me pressing that vehemently. So I don't think that there are going to be any other nominations for the homelessness liaison position. So John, Mr. Councilmember DeMeglio, did you want to finish that comment on your nomination of Armando?
Yeah, I wanted to nominate a board member, which is Armando, because he was elected by the community, and somebody else was rejected by the community, and it's not fair. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Henry, go ahead.
this brings up something. I am concerned with the current direction in which we are nominating chairs. One thing that Northwest San Pedro has done in the past is we have done our best to include our entire community, and we have had community members who are chairs for various committees. I am a bit concerned with this, and this is myself included, a direction towards all board chaired and liaison committee. This doesn't include the community. I believe that we do need more examples of community members who have positions of decision-making and empowerment. And I hope that we do consider this in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a
President.
very excellent comment. I think that I'm fulfilling the responsibility that I was given as being president, but I think committee membership, including the chair positions, are very plastic. And like I said, I had 1 month to do this, but if more of the community wants to get involved, I think that would be a beautiful thing. So let's work together, maybe with the outreach committee, and about the very excellent opportunity of being a committee member or chair of the neighborhood council committee system. I think that's a good idea. This is what we have for discussion today. And if we choose to approve it now, it will be that way until we democratically decide to change it.
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to say something on my behalf regarding the liaison for the homeless committee, please.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. I was trying for the last 2 years to actively participate with the homeless program and to be an advocate to fight for getting the, excuse me, I'm having no problem speaking, so I apologize for my pausing, for having to get the people responsible, the outreach groups, to do the outreach. Because one thing they were not doing is I have a 1.5 year stack of newspapers with highlighted articles. I can show everybody and hand it to them tomorrow morning. I'm talking about 3 to 4 feet high stack of newspapers I've collected the past 2 years. I tried to, with the old vice president, which is Laurie Jacobs, I tried to get onto a committee. I tried to make things work, and I could not get committee going. I was being held in check, and I was proactive in communicating with with Janice Hahn's office and with the Councilman Joe Bascanio's office, and I had meetings with them, and I was going forth to try and get the people responsible to be responsible and do the right job. It is quite apparent that the job wasn't done in our area because of the following. There's still a tremendous amount of homeless out there. Nothing has been done. It's the same thing that's been sitting there for 2, 3, 4 years. Nothing's being done in a permanent basis. They do these little Band-Aid things, but they're not really fighting, advocating for getting positive things done and finding out where the money's going. With one group in particular, AHASA has gets $500 million a year, and they're not outreaching like these other groups are. It's affecting our community. We cannot help the homeless people due to the fact that there's lack of participation from LAHASA doing their job. And that's been brought
Thank you.
to light
Thank you,
by,
council member. Thank you. Thank you
okay,
for your comment.
just in closing, that's been brought to light by Supervisor Hahn. She brought that to notice also that that group was not doing their, and Councilman Buscaino also brought that fact up just recently. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Sure. So I'd encourage us to recognize that the liaison position is more or less kind of a reporting position. So the department system of the city of Los Angeles is relatively labyrinthine, and there are many departments. So this is your opportunity to find out what is going on there and then to essentially report it back to us in the relevant committees, which might then propose policy. So I think that's how it was intended to function. And we have a few people who want to comment, including Gwen and Chris, who both spoke. So if there's no one else, oh, we have Maya Denola. Council member Maya Denola, go ahead.
Thank you. This is repetitive, but I did want to just second what Councilmember Henry was saying in that, and what you just expressed, which I appreciate, which is that we all remember what our roles are in terms of being on the neighborhood council, and that being a neighborhood council member does not give you more power, authority, or knowledge than a member of the public. And that we are here to serve, not to push our own agendas per se. So I would just like to really bring that to the forefront and see if we can find some kind of way to have these discussions in a bit less of a confrontational, blaming manner. I know there's history here. Some of us are not part of that history. And it would be appreciated if people could attempt to put some of that behind us and to just move forward with the work that we have to do tonight. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that we do have other items on the agenda. We heard from Mr. Vice President and Madam Treasurer before that, and we heard from Laurie and Armando, both potentials. So if there is no one else who would like to comment on that, why don't, Mr. Secretary, you go ahead and call the roll on whether we want to have Laurie Jacobs or Armando Balderrama be the homelessness liaison.
Do you need a motion?
I would say no, because we're taking a vote on one or the other person. So that would be kind of awkward in a motion sense. So let's go ahead, Mr. Secretary, call the roll on whether we want Armando Balderrama or Laurie Jacobs as homelessness liaison.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay, Armando.
Yes, yes.
You need to pick
So
a name.
you're voting for Armando Balderrama then, is that correct, Armando?
I am voting for Armando, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I am.
John Barbera.
Laurie Jacobs. Laurie.
Vic Christensen, Laurie Jacobs. Maya Denola.
Laurie Jacobs.
John DeMiglio.
Armando.
Dan Dixon. Dan, you're muted.
Laurie Jacobs.
Craig Goldfarb.
Armando.
Cynthia Gagne.
Armando.
I'll skip, well, for now, I'll skip you, Christian. Gwen Henry.
Laurie. Laurie Jacobs.
Melanie Lebrecq.
Laurie.
Kelly Miller.
Laurie Jacobs.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz.
Laurie Jacobs.
Angela Sumner.
Laurie Jacobs.
Chris Valle.
Laurie Jacobs.
Thomas Norman.
Laurie Jacobs.
Back to you, Christian.
I'm going to vote for Laurie Jacobs.
I show a vote of 12 for Laurie and 4 for Armando.
Okay, so I'll just take a brief pause, and one excellent saying that I heard is democracy is not easy. So, but it's worth it because I think an educated democracy is probably the best way to organize ourselves as a species. And I think we might have other comments on some of the other committee memberships or the chairs perhaps. So any other comments on the other ones? Okay, Council Member Gwen Henry.
Wait, excuse me, I need to butt in for a minute here.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Did we ever finish the second
No, we did.
Part of what Craig Goldfarb moved to add to the, to make him the second budget rep? I don't think we ever heard a final to that.
I think that there was a consensus that I was determining that he would be the budget rep. So that was, you can write by general consent, he was made to be the budget representative.
Okay, sorry, Gwen, didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. Well, I appreciate Craig Goldfarb's enthusiasm in participating in so many different roles. But I would like to make a motion that the Elections and Bylaws chairmanship be considered and discussed currently. With in mind the idea of at this point, I believe that Craig may be a little over encumbered. And I am concerned once again with all of the roles of all of the chairs currently being board members. I feel that we're divvying this up amongst ourselves, kind of like a steak, which makes me feel a little uncomfortable. But
okay, Gwen, your comment was heard. Is there a second? Your motion was heard. So the motion is to, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Vice President.
No, I was just asking for clarification on the motion itself. I wasn't quite sure.
She moved. What was the motion? Yeah, I would say, let me restate it, and then if she wants to correct it, I think it would be a motion to have nominations for the planning and land, excuse me, a motion to have nominations and appointment of the Elections and Bylaws Committee for the chair position. Was that correct, Gwen?
yes, thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Vice President, would you like to second that?
I'll second that, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just open the discussion. I think I already said this, but we had limited time. I had limited time. I relatively new to getting to know you on a personal level in terms of all of your interests. And so speaking to all of you, this was the list that I came up with in consultation with the members of various committees and the chair members as well. So if you'd like, we can take nominations now for the Elections and Bylaws. I think Craig is going to be one of the choices. I don't believe he would be opposed to that. So Craig would be one who is nominated. I don't know if anyone else would like to nominate someone else, but now is the time you may do so, and we will see hands. Gwen Henry, would you like to make a nomination?
Yes. If Diana is not interested in continuing as the chair of bylaws and elections, I would like to get her response. If not, I would like to put my hat in the ring. Thank you, as chair.
Okay, I see her present. I don't know if let's see if she's available to talk, if she wants to make comment on that.
Sure, thank you. I'm willing to give up being chair. I'm also willing to be chair, whatever is the will of the group.
Okay, so we have two choices now. We have Diana Nave and Craig Goldfarb. So any other nominations for that one?
Was Craig interested in doing the chairs? I want to clarify that.
Okay, Craig, are you still interested in chairing elections and bylaws?
Yes, I am. I asked for it and I think I could do the job.
Then I'd like
I'm
to nominate
biased.
him. I'd make the motion to nominate Craig for the bylaws and election committee.
Already.
Okay, yeah, he is up for consideration, and thank you for voicing your comment. Anyone else, if no one else has any other nomination for that position, Mr. Secretary, would you like to call the roll? And this would be for elections and bylaws chair between Craig Goldfarb and Diana Nave. So you would vote for one of those people.
Okay, Armando Valderrama,
Yes, I'd like to vote for Craig.
John Barbera,
I'd take the vote now.
Diana Nave.
Vic Christensen, Diana Nave, Maya Denola, Maya Denola, are you still there?
No.
You need to unmute, Maya. Okay, we'll come back. John DeMiglio,
Craig.
Dan Dixon,
Craig Goldfarb.
Craig Goldfarb,
Myself,
Cynthia Gagne,
Craig Goldfarb.
Christian Guzman,
I'll vote if there's a tie.
okay, Gwen Henry,
Diana Nave.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Diana.
Kelly Miller,
Diana Nave.
Singapore.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Diana Nave.
Angela Sumner,
Diana Nave.
Chris Valle,
Diana Nave.
Thomas Norman,
Diana Nave.
Maya Denola, are you back? Okay, we'll mark her not voted. So we have We have 5 for Goldfarb, 9 for Nave, 1 abstention, 1 not voted. So
Okay.
Diana Nave.
All righty. Are there any other considerations on the list of committee appointments and liaison appointments?
Oh, sorry, I apologize. I had to attend to a phone call. I apologize if I missed anything.
Mr. President, can we take a vote since we haven't moved on yet, or do you want to keep it the way it is?
I would say that the voting was over. She was not present, so we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
And I'm perfectly okay with that. I apologize.
Okay. If there's no other comment on the list, then we could approve it as amended.
Can you, this isn't the proper list up there, Mr. President? The list up there seems to be the old one.
Oh yeah, so we had, there are only so many screens you can share at a time, but there was a request to look at the website list, but I think before that, we probably had the committee chair list that was proposed. So we could go,
Okay.
yeah, we can go back to that. It was a part of the agenda packet.
Okay,
for
stand by.
consideration.
Mr. President,
Yeah, yes.
if you're saying yes to me, I believe there were.
Yes, yes, Councilmember Dixon, yes.
Cynthia's name was moved and seconded for 2 positions. Is she?
That's correct,
Do
yes.
we need to vote on those, or
Yes.
can she just be added to the list?
No, that was disposed of. She's a part of the committees that she wanted to be on now, which was
Very good.
the
Thank you.
elections and bylaws, I believe, and then the film Liaison. That was what the discussion was on.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay. Council Member Henry, yes. Do you have a comment?
Mr. President, I would hope that you would possibly go through some of the liaison positions that are still available. And I would greatly appreciate if the two new board members from Vista del Oro would consider committees, and as soon as possible. Would love to invite you to environment and sustainability as well. Thank you.
That's an excellent point, and we have one council member present today. We are running low on time. However, I think that's an important topic. So Mr. or Councilmember Norman, do any of the committees that we have jump out at you? Would you like time to consider that with me and the committee chairs, and then we could raise that topic next month? It's up to you. I think that's a good point that Councilmember Henry raised.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think it would make sense to consult a little bit before firmly committing, but as I stated in my remarks, it might be a good fit. The youth, which I think meets first Tuesdays, if that's correct, that doesn't present a problem. And, but I also am open to where there's shortages. So, you could convince me to go somewhere else, but that would probably be one that relates a lot to the job I have currently.
Excellent. So yeah, let's discuss it then. If anyone is interested in talking to our new council member, please reach out to him, and you're welcome to reach out to anyone else. And we can take that up next month then. Shall we finalize the list then for this month?
Then I request to be added on to elections and bylaws.
Okay. So in the interest of time, let's hear who else would like to be on committees, and then if there's no objection, we could take it all as one now. So we have Craig wants to be on elections and bylaws. Councilmember Dan Dixon, what is your comment?
Apologies, my hand should be down.
Okay. Councilmember Henry, yes.
Once again, I believe that there are some liaison positions that are still available that you might want to just mention on the record as possible openings. Oh, well, we have the wrong one up now. I believe that data liaison and well, there was another the NC the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, and I would like to nominate myself for the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, but we do need a second.
I'll second that. Chris Valle.
Okay, so Councilmember Henry nominated herself to be the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance liaison or member, and seconded by Mr. Vice President. I'll just add at the beginning, there are many different liaisons, and I think that since we have new council members, it'd probably be best, and in the interest of time, to take that up through the rest of August and in our individual committees. So is there comment though on Gwen's nomination to be on the Sustainability Alliance? Mr. Secretary.
I do have a comment on, and I should have brought this up earlier. I think we messed up a bit as far as procedure goes. both for this one and the LA Film Liaison. They are not on the list currently, so they're technically not on the agenda. Therefore, should we be addressing them now or address them at the next meeting, like the one with Thomas Norman that we just talked about?
Very true.
Yeah, I think that this kind of goes back to a comment we heard earlier, which was the language was appointment of committee chairs on the agenda and committee membership. We can revisit that and just make sure that that was kind of like, yeah, it was committee and liaison appointments. So the nature of that could result in new people wanting to be added, and we had a council member who was appointed. So I don't think it's beyond the scope of what we could do, and what we have done, which is to address the film liaison and the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance. I think that that's within our purview today. Of course, we could balance it with time. So my computer shows 8:09, so we have 50 minutes. We have several other items. This is a plastic list. We can always revisit it and change it. We could also just choose to not approve it and take it up next week. That's an option. So would anyone like to continue? We could table this, or we could limit the time to maybe like 5 more minutes. I think those would be the suggestions I have. It would be to table it, to limit time to 5 more minutes.
I would move that we limit time to 5 more minutes.
I second.
Okay. So if there's no objection, let's limit it to 5 more minutes. And then it's 8:10 on my computer time. So at 8:15, we will wrap it up and move on. So just to come back to your questions, Mr. Secretary, we can do what we have been doing. It's not, in our understanding, inappropriate. So we're taking it up as a democracy and disposing of each item individually. And then I think we had the idea that Craig wanted to be on election and bylaws. And then I was saying, in the interest of time, does anyone else want to be on any other committees that have been listed or proposed today? And if not, we could finish it. So Craig wants to be on election and bylaws. Would anyone else like to be on any other committee? And I think I have Cynthia's hand up. Cynthia?
Cynthia, you're muted. We also see Kelly and John DeMeglio's hands.
Nobody can
Okay.
read my lips. I got it. You have me on public safety, and I had asked for just the port and the election one. So my name shouldn't be there.
Okay, we can remove you for that. Can remove you. Kelly Miller.
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify that the committees that you have us on this list is what we would be on, right? So like for me, public safety and youth and outreach, right? Correct?
Yes, unless you want to adjust it now. I mean, what would you like to do? Yes.
No, that's fine. I mean, I may want to become more involved, and I know we spoke about being taking on a liaison position, but I just kind of want to feel it out first.
Okay. Miss Councilmember John DeMeglio.
Yeah, how many people do you have on the bylaws and elections? How many board members do you have?
Let's see, it looks like. Okay, so if Craig gets put on it, then we would have Craig and we have Gwen, so it would be 2. And I think that Cynthia just wanted to be on it, so now she's on it, so that would be 3.
Okay, thank you.
An opening and availability on some of these for the 2 new board members to have a choice on some. I believe that their skills may be shut out because some of us have been elected in.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, do you have a comment?
Just a quick question to Cynthia, and I want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say that you also wanted to be on the port committee, or was that something else?
She did originally say that, and then I said that I wanted to keep it lean with 3 at the beginning, and then there was no formal motion to adjust that, so that's how it was disposed of.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I was on it before, but you took me off and put Dan on it. So there was 3 before. But I'm okay. I'll take what you give me.
Okay. So if there's no other comment, we could wrap this up. Again, this is plastic. People come and go, and new people are interested in committees all the time, or they decide that they want to adjust their political and personal lives. So we could choose to approve it or suspend it for now.
One more quick question. Kelly Miller, you have your hand up. Is this new, or is this just not put down from before?
No, this is new. I'm sorry. I don't know how I got off that. We voted for Diana Nave to lead the committee. And I don't see that on there.
This was the proposed list before the meeting started.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so with the amendments that will be in the minutes and have been recorded for reference, would anyone like to move that we approve it? And would there is there a second?
I move. Melanie moves.
I second.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion from Madam Treasurer Melanie Lebrecq and a second from John Barbera. There was discussion already. Would it be the pleasure of the board to take a vote on this, since it's 8:15 now, and that's when we decided to wrap it up?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
So this is strictly C. Okay, Armando,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, yes. Maya Denola. Remember to unmute, Maya. Okay, we'll come back. John DeMiglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Cynthia Gagne,
Yes.
Christian Guzman,
I'm going to vote yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Was that a yes?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Okay, it was very soft. Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Maya Denola, are you back?
I do not see her on the list now. I
Oh.
think she might have disconnected.
Okay.
I'm keeping an eye out, but I
Yeah,
don't
it
see her.
looks like she did. Okay.
Jeez.
Then of those present, it's unanimous.
Okay, very good. Thank you, council members and the public that is present. Let us move on to,
Maya's on the list again. I think you might want to need to add her in again.
Got it. Thank you.
okay, yeah, let's make her a panelist, and then we'll move on to item number 11.
Who?
And since we have some action items, if there's no objection, I think that we should take up item 11C, which is financial matters. So Madam Treasurer, would you like to introduce that?
Yes. Chris, are you able to share on the website, the expense stuff?
Yes, I am standby.
First off is the MER. It'll be listed by itself.
So many buttons.
And all of these items were out of committee, is that correct?
Except for the MER because it wasn't produced by the city clerk's office yet.
Okay, so when it's up, would you like to move to approve that one?
Okay, so what we're gonna need is a motion to approve it. There was no expenses, we're just straight $32,000. Nothing was spent this month.
Wow, I don't think we could ask for anything simpler. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and we're having a little bit of humor, which is good. Enjoy the small things when you can. Would you like to call the vote? Mr. Secretary?
Who seconded?
That was Thomas Norman and Cynthia Gagne.
Oh,
Okay.
Thomas can't second because he's the financial matters, he hasn't been.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I will move then.
Okay, Chris,
Wait, what? Okay, what's happening with the motions here?
So
Yeah,
Thomas
let's clarify it.
Thomas attempted to move, but he's ineligible, and I then took it over, and I can assume Cynthia still seconds. Yes, she nods in approval.
thank you. Sorry, Thomas.
Okay, so just to be
Yes.
clear,
Yes, it's been moved by Mr. Vice President and seconded by Cynthia Gagne.
Yes.
Okay.
So, any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Armando,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Victor,
yes.
Maya.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
John DeMeglio,
Sorry.
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, the next is going to be 11C2, which is the budget through July.
So that one's out of committee. Is that the case, Madam Treasurer?
Yes, that is out of committee.
Okay.
I'm doing the barbecue. Get it ready.
It's that one, Chris, 11C2.
First, sausages first.
Try to mute yourself, council members, if you're not commenting on an item or recognized by the chair. Go ahead, Mr. Vice President, you can put it up, and then Mr. Secretary, prepare for the roll.
Okay, so this is out of committee. This is our budget, same as the MER, 32,000. And so any discussion? So call for the vote. Armando? Armando?
Yes, yes.
Yes? Okay, John?
Yes.
Barbera,
Yes.
Victor?
Yes.
Maya?
Yes.
John DeMaglio?
Yes.
And Dixon?
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Christian Guzman?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Christian? Valle?
Yes.
And Adrianita?
Yes.
Okay, so next item, scroll down. There, it should be on the same thing, okay? So this is a motion that's already budgeted on the previous budget for the fiscal year for the newsletters. The newsletters are $44.50 each newsletter. Newsletter number 1 is due to come out in October to be distributed. This is a request to use the money. Even though we budgeted, we still have to reconfirm the money and vote on it. This is out of committee. This is a request for the newsletter to get the postage and all that is listed below. So any discussion on this? Gwen?
Oh, my discussion is after the vote, actually.
Okay. Chris Valle.
Yeah, just real briefly, in Youth and Outreach, we were discussing the publication of this issue to highlight some of the more pressing issues related to Delta variant resurgence of COVID numbers, the resultant disruption economically, personally, things like that. So we're looking essentially, not exactly a special edition, but we felt there was enough emergent issues, enough things that we had the opportunity to share information in terms of resources, that it would be timely for us to get one out now before the landscape changes again, essentially.
Thank you, Chris. Craig?
I think as a board, we should reconsider the usefulness and of the newsletter. And I think we should table this until next month and we should have a discussion about whether we should be having a newsletter. It's quite expensive. It doesn't reach a lot of people. I didn't get mine last time. I know Vic has complained a lot of times about not getting it. So I think that it's in our best interest to reconsider doing the newsletter in the format we've been doing it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goldfarb. Mr. Secretary, do you have a comment?
Just a quick question. Did I hear you say, Craig, that I had complained about not getting it?
Let us focus on the issue at hand.
The only reason I ask is because, yes, in the past I have, but that was like a year or two ago. And most, recently I have gotten it on a regular basis. So while that comment may have been true at a time, it is no longer.
Yeah, generally the discussion should be confined to the policy itself, and the anecdotal stories, usually we want to keep away from that just in the interest of our own time, and then to focus on the issue. But
John DeMay
yes.
has his hand up.
Yes, let's hear from Maya Denola, since I think she had technical issues and she was able to come back. Let's hear from Council Member Maya Denola, and then we'll follow up with Council Member DeMeglio.
Thank you. Yeah, I apologize. My internet went down. So I just wanted to follow what Craig said, and I'm trying to understand how we determined how many copies to print and who these are going out to. If somebody can enlighten me, I would offer that in today's digital age, this may very well be an expense that we don't need to incur. Just putting it out there.
It's sent in bulk mail. We have a mailer that uses it for bulk mail. So it sends it out we've scoped it out to a whole zip code area, and we've expanded it now. So that's why it costs a little bit more to hit all of our zip code areas, so that everybody, during the elections, we expanded the outreach to hit all of our neighborhood council area. This is
I'm surprised to hear that, because I don't believe I've ever received anything.
At elections.
Okay. Yeah, let us come to order. Generally, the discussion at the neighborhood council, since we're at a full board meeting, we just kind of want to voice our opposition or pro position on it. And we can do the in-depth discussion at the committee level, but thank you for answering Council Member Maya Denola's question. And I think we had John DeMeglio. Did you want to voice opposition or a yes kind of position to the issue at hand?
Yeah, I think the newsletter is worthless. I think we could find better ways to get the neighbors involved than a newsletter that pretty much nobody looks at.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, did you have a comment?
Yes, sorry, just briefly to underscore that the existence of the newsletter, the concept of it, and the funding thereof has already been discussed and decided. If you want to attend a youth and outreach meeting to discuss whether we should have a newsletter or how else we should do that job, that happens every month. We just had one and you guys weren't there. So let's actually vote on the funding of this particular issue and get the meeting back on track.
Exactly, as well as the budget was already approved in the fiscal year budget for 2 newsletters this year. And so the what we have at hand is Outreach has sent in the request for money. It's Budget and Finance's job to decide, do we have the money or do we not? Yes, it was budgeted, bring it to the vote. So what we can do is just vote it as the board. If the board wants it, we vote for it. If they don't, then we don't.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. And with that, shall we proceed to a vote?
So we're gonna call for the vote. Armando.
Yes.
Why is the outreach chair not allowed to speak?
Oh, Laurie, I didn't even see you. Go ahead, Laurie, before we
Hey, I'm
call.
sorry, I've had my hand up. I just want to clarify a couple of things. A few years ago, they decided to cut out the hard copy newsletter and go online. We got quite a few complaints because there's many people who do not are not online. And our job as a neighborhood council is to reach as many people as possible. And the issues that are driving this are that we're coming close to an eviction moratorium ending. And there's people who don't have the right resource information to know how to advocate for their rights. I do the bidding of the board. So of course I'll do whatever you say, but I noticed at the special meeting that you approved 2 newsletters. So I'm not really understanding why there's a discussion now. I never would have put this forward if that was the issue, but I'm saying if we want to serve our community well, we have to consider there's older people, there's people who don't have computers, and we print, to Maya's question, we print 12,700 copies. And the issue we did last July that was on strictly COVID resources, people thanked us all over the place, and they kept those issues because they had those phone numbers ready and available to them to know where to call to get legal aid or any other assistance. Again, I'll do whatever you guys say. I'm just thinking about our community. Thank you.
Thank you for that
Okay.
very helpful clarification from everyone. I appreciate that.
Christian,
Continue with the vote. Yeah.
continue with the vote.
Continue with the vote, Madam Treasurer.
Armando? Armando?
Yes, yes. So I would like to continue the
John Barbera?
yes.
Yes.
Vic?
Yes.
Maya?
Maya,
Maya, sorry.
sorry.
No worries. Yes. I'll vote yes.
John DeMeglio?
Oh,
Dan Dixon?
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb? Craig? You're muted.
No.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Christian Guzman?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie? Yes. Kelly Miller?
Yes.
Angela Sumner?
Yes.
Chris Vallier?
Yes.
Adrian Nita?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the next one. Chris, you go into where it says 11C4. There you go. Okay, so this is a letter that they send us showing that we received our rollover money, which is 7431.19. Okay, and then scroll down, Chris. And this is the new budget. So it shows the 7431. And then go down. Scroll. Keep going. And it's plugged into the outreach funds, unallocated. And it'll sit there until we vote on where to move it. It sits there. So these are unused funds there that as we can open up and maybe do events or whatever, those funds will be plugged in. They aren't allocated. They just sit there. So that's where the 7,400 and scroll back up, Chris. So that's where the $7,431.19 got plugged into. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? So once again, this is our new fiscal year vote budget. We can always change it, but this we have to submit in order to get our rollover money. So, so call for the vote. Armando,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Victor,
Yes.
Maya,
Yes.
John DeMiglio,
No.
and Dixon,
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Chris, Cynthia Gonya,
Yes.
Christian Guzman,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Chris Valier,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, and we're all done. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. In the interest of time, we have another committee report as part of 11 that has action items. So let us take up item number 11B, which would be bylaws and elections committee. And would the chairperson like to introduce the first item?
Yes, I would, thank you. But before I do, I just wanted to point out that in the bylaws and elections report, there are a number of statistics that were related to the recent election, in case anyone's interested. So the first item, 11B1, is a motion from the committee to approve the proposed letter to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, the city clerk, and the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners regarding the recent elections and enumerating several issues that we encountered. The letter was in the agenda packet, so I don't plan to go through it, but I'm ready to answer any questions.
If there are no questions, we could proceed with a vote for it.
My hand is
Take
raised.
your hands.
I'm
Okay,
not sure what the
Mr.
motion
yeah.
is.
Council, okay, so Diana, would you like to summarize the measure of the motion? And then I think we had, we could
What
have
is the
comment from them,
motion?
yes.
Not a summary. What is the motion?
The motion
Excellent.
is to approve the proposed letter to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, the city clerk, and the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners regarding the recent elections. That the letter is contained in the agenda packet.
Okay, so that's the motion. Do we get to have a discussion on this?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Would you like to discuss it, Mr. Goldfarb?
Yes, I looked it over and I,
Excuse me, point of order. If we're making a motion, we need to have it seconded and approved before discussion. Is that not correct?
It's out of committee.
Yeah, it was out of committee, Mr. Secretary.
So no second.
at the point that came out of committee, there wasn't a two members of the board on the committee.
So
That means that it does have to be seconded because it's not a committee unless there's two members of the board on it.
Okay, we could go back to basics. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the letter, and then there might be a second. So is there a motion to approve the letter?
So moved, Chris Valier.
Okay.
Seconded by Gwen Henry.
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Goldfarb. You had comment on the letter.
Yes, in reviewing it, the statistics are different than the statistics that I got from the clerk. And I'd like to I think we need to review that. And I have some questions for the clerk, and I'd like to question the clerk on what was going on. I'm not so sure that, I mean, I understand that, there's some ire from some people, but I'm not sure where it should be from and to who. I found with even the election that we just had that there was a lack of transparency from Diana Nave when I asked her who who was, and when I find that on several occasions, when you ask direct questions, you don't get answers when we're supposed to be transparent. I think we should check everything out on this before we submit a letter showing, instead of looking like silly, saying stuff that doesn't really matter or didn't really happen.
Okay, thank you. Is there another comment?
Yeah, I have my hand up. I have my hand up.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. DeMeglio, and then we'll have Dan Dixon afterward.
Yeah, I don't understand, where was the problems in this election? And why wasn't there any comment before the election happened? I guess some people didn't get the results they want. Now they're trying to say that there's a problem with the election. I think it was done very fairly. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Just as a point of information, I do recall several criticisms before and during the entire election process. But Mr. Councilmember Dixon, go ahead. I think you're muted. Dan.
I just want to say that the letter to me is very good. The criticisms of the process are, in my opinion, correct. And this has nothing to do with the actual vote or overturning any vote or transparency. It's simply an observation that the city ran the elections very poorly from a mechanical standpoint. That's all. I think it's a good letter.
Very good. Madam Treasurer, did you have a comment?
Yes, the biggest problem is that they were understaffed. And so it ended up where Region 12 just kind of got what was left, and that's why things were mailed out late, why you had to have somebody run stuff out here. They got mailed late. And so you had to have a runner come out and hand deliver some ballots for some people. And I think that's something that has to be addressed, because Region 12 tends to quite often be last on the list. And so that's standing up for Region 12 to have them notice us a little bit more. There's 99 neighborhood councils, and we're just important as this region as all other 90 or so that are in the neighborhood council system. The other thing I want to comment on is when you're making comments, please remember as a board that we are responsible to be. You may not like somebody, they may not be your best friend when you go party with them or hang with them, but we are, whether they're stakeholders or council members, deserve to be treated and not blasted and called names and disparaged on a neighborhood council meeting. You got to treat everybody with respect, no matter if you like them or don't like them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Treasurer. And that is a good reminder and something that we are practicing and will continue to practice honing. Any other comment on that item?
Yeah, I have another comment, John DeMeglio.
Okay, we heard from you once, John. Let me see if there's any other comment on the item, and then we could circle back to you. Diana, did you want to make a comment on the item?
Okay.
Diana, you're muted.
Yeah, so I just realized. I thought the unmuting was going to be automatic. My suggestion was to let John DeMeglio make whatever comment he wanted, and then I'll make a final statement before the vote.
Okay, so John, did you want to make a comment on the item specifically on the nature of the letter and its criticism of the election?
Yeah.
All right, what is it?
Okay, I was in contact with the downtown Robintino through this whole thing. and he was very, very, very professional. And when there was a problem, he did send out ballots and drove out ballots personally to people when they requested it. So I don't know where the problem is, because the city has tried to work very hard with us and did a good job at it. I just want to say they did a great job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that perspective. Seeing nobody, let's check the public again, and then we'll take, I think Diana said she wanted to give one final comment. Go ahead, Diana.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just want to respond to a couple things. First of all, the statistics that Craig was mentioning are not a part of the letter, so I wanted to clarify that. The letter is really about not so much a criticism as how you might improve the elections next time. It's something we routinely do, is to look and see what might be improved. And so we're not saying that the election wasn't fair. It certainly was a fair and open election, but we are saying that here are some ways that we think the process should be improved for the future. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cynthia.
I just have a quick question on the one about flipping the coin. Are you saying not to flip a coin and do it another way, Diana? I couldn't read that. It was going up and down too fast.
I believe that's another agenda item.
This
It
is a
is?
different item.
Okay, never mind.
Thank you. So the discussion is, of course, the discussion is on item number 11B1, which is the approval of the letter regarding comments on neighborhood council elections. So, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Quick question, who did the second on this one?
I did, Gwendolyn Henry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Armando. Armando, you're muted. Okay, we'll come back. John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, yes. Maya Denola.
Yes.
John DeMiglio.
No.
Dan Dixon.
Yes.
Craig Goldfarb.
No.
Cynthia Gagne.
Abstain.
Christian Guzman.
Come back to me if there's a tie.
Okay, Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Faye.
Yes.
This is not a budget one, so Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Back to Armando. Are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Okay, what is your vote?
No.
Okay, we have 11 yes, 3 no, and 1 abstention, so it carries.
Very good, Mr. Secretary.
Well, sorry, technically 2 abstentions because you also abstain because there's no tie.
Yes. Mr. Vice President, would you like to move item 2?
I'm sorry, I'd like to move item 2.
Changes to bylaws and rules.
Yeah, I'm sorry, item 11B2 or II. Yeah, Roman numerals.
11B2
Yeah.
is to approve 4 proposed changes to the standing rules.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, would you like to make a motion on that? So then we can get a second and get that going.
I move that we approve the changes to the bylaws as
And I will second.
Standing
that.
rules.
Henry.
standing rules.
And I will second that, Gwendolyn Henry.
Okay, so we had a motion to consider the changes to the standing rules by Mr. Vice President Chris Vian, a second by Gwen Henry. Diana, would you like to review the changes or ask for any comment? Is there any comment on that?
Cynthia, was this the one that you were asking about?
Yes,
Yeah,
this is
so-
the one that talked about the flip of the coin. So that was what she was asking about.
Yeah, when we amended our bylaws the last time, we put into our bylaws a procedure in case of a tie, which was different than the flip of the coin. And so this then conflicted with the bylaws. Standing rules can never conflict with your bylaws. So we now recommend that that language be deleted from the standing rules.
Okay, so there's a clarification on ties there.
The other, let's see. These 4 changes really came as a result of things we noticed in the recent elections. The proposed change to standing rule 4B provides language regarding the appointment of committees and committee chairs that would enable them to continue until new appointments are confirmed in the event that it doesn't happen at the August meeting. So it was a contingency in case something like we did tonight didn't happen. The change to 8C is the one we just talked about, and the other 2 rules, 8E and 16, would be deleted because that's language that was specific to the 2021 election and is no longer needed. Those are the 4 changes.
Okay. Council member. See, I'm trying to see, usually we want to get participation as relatively equally as possible, but that's okay. You know, as we grow as a board, more will want to participate. Mr. Secretary.
Just a quick question. You may have covered it, but I think I may have missed it. Since the flip of the coin part is out, what happens if there's a tie?
It's as delineated in our bylaws rather than in the standing rules. And the bylaws, you may recall when we elected the officers last month, we had the procedure where the highest officer from the previous year remaining on the board didn't vote for president and then voted only to break a tie. And then after that, the president didn't vote except to break a tie. So that language was put into the bylaws and it superseded the language in the standing rules.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Let's see.
See Craig's hand up?
Yes, Council Member Craig Goldfarb, go ahead, please.
So I see a lot of neighborhood councils as a best practice introduce the changes to bylaws and standing rules at one meeting and then vote on it on a second meeting. And I think in this case, I would really like to talk to my stakeholders, especially on keeping people on boards after we have elections. I don't think that's a great thing to do. And I don't think it represents a very democratic answer. And I would suggest that we table this motion, give people time to speak to their stakeholders to see how they feel about this. I definitely need to speak to my stakeholders.
Your stakeholders.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goldfarb. And we had Council Member Henry, go ahead.
Craig, when you're in the committee, all of these things get discussed. Just, for the sake of this, I know we're getting long on time, but for example, things that had happened in these last few years is that the city clerk and had delineated how we were going to conduct our election. And in order for us to be able to accommodate these rules as set forth, we needed to create some wording in our standing rules and our bylaws. But in this case, as you see right here, this large paragraph here, it was specifically tailored in order to accommodate rules that had been set forth by the city clerk, which no longer are relevant because we no longer are going to have these staggered weird elections. We were on a different schedule. So I invite everyone, whether you're a committee member or not, you can participate as a stakeholder to understand a lot of these things. So thank you.
Okay. Do we have Councilmember John DeMeglio? Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I agree with Craig. If the elections happen and people are voted off, they're voted off. There's no reason why, even after the elections, the committee members refused or didn't do any meetings. A few of them didn't canceled meetings and all that stuff. That didn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. You know, it is what it is. And
Yeah. Just as a point of order, we're talking about the standing rules. Is your comment on the standing rules?
Yeah, that's about the rules saying that what Diane's trying to propose. Just leave it alone. You know, it's like the Republicans trying to stifle votes and stuff like that. You just can't keep doing that. So, you know, you want to keep doing it, that's fine. The stakeholders are losing all the time. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Okay. Maya Denola, is your comment on the standing rules?
In a sense, my comment is that there seems to be a lot of confusion as to what we're actually voting on. So I don't know if it's a point of order. I don't know what it is, but there doesn't seem to be clarity for anybody as to how these things get to this point, right? They went through the committee. That's where the changes were made. That's where that comment period was supposed to take place, right?
Yeah, I think that what you can
this
do.
is the point to vote on what went through the committee, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And if you ever if you think that the discussion is sort of veering off topic, you can call for orders of the day, and then that phrase signifies to us to kind of revisit what item we're on. So yeah, we're talking about standing rules, and typically the bylaws committee reviews them from time to time, and then they talk about suggested alterations or changes, and then they bring it back to the board. So now it's being brought before the board. So the public had opportunity to make comment on them at the committee level. And so now it's at the full board level. And there was some discussion that we could perhaps wait and give the public more time, so that's an option, or we could make the changes now.
Thank you for the clarification.
So I think I saw Angela Sumner's hand.
Yeah, I just had a real quick question. Since I'm kind of new, I just wanted to clarify. These agendas for the committee meetings come out in advance, right? Like, so if this was going to get discussed, we would know about it?
Yeah, legally, the committees are 72 hours in advance, and then the board meeting is also 72 hours in advance if it's a regular meeting. And then if it's a special meeting, it's 24 hours in advance. And if there's some sort of a catastrophe, I think it's like an hour in advance. But it's interesting to read in the Brown Act. You can read it.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because there seems to be some ambiguity about where we are in this voting process, but it seems like we've had the opportunity to go to the committee meeting and address any concerns. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Point of order.
Thank you for the comment.
The committees are not, we're a board because we vote on stuff and we discuss stuff. Just because it came out of committee, not all of us, as Gwen has pointed out before, have all the time to be at every committee meeting on everything. So we have to discuss as a board. And the board
Council
meeting,
member, your point is not well taken. You raised a point of order. Your point is not well taken, but I think you're giving comment now just generally on the committee structure.
Well, the point is you keep saying that the committee, it's decided in committee and that you have to go to a committee, and that's not true. people only have so much time to go committees. That's why we have a board and that's why we do stuff. Now, something as serious as
So I would
as
let us
bylaws,
come to order now, where
standing
we're
rules.
talking about the standing rules in particular and the philosophy of the nature of what a committee functions. We can always discuss that at the committees themselves or at the board meetings during the public comment period, or there's also a board comment period. So we could also have that as an agenda item for the next meeting if you'd like to discuss that further in a public forum. But for now, I think we are taking the standing rules and comments on them, and we've taken several comments. Gwen, do you have one last comment on the standing rules?
This is more for clarification on some of the questions. All of this paperwork, including the entire bylaws, from the first page to the last page, are in the agenda packet, and they've been there for the weekend. Those of you who are not yet familiar with the bylaws, the entirety of it is available, and then you'll see the few little red lines of how it's been changed. And so you will compare the standing rules and the bylaws, but it's a good document that everyone should be familiar with. And this may prompt us to have a retreat and really, but this is homework for everyone who's new to go through the bylaws. And this is, it was available. And once again, if you want to know more rules, after reading these documents and after we have a retreat, we can proceed with more questions. There's a lot, it's an education process for all of us in the neighborhood council.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Gwen Henry. So I think, Mr. Secretary, let's take the roll and then perhaps we'll adjourn since it's 8:58.
Okay, so this is a vote to approve the changes to the standing rules. Armando,
No.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, yes. Maya Denola,
Yes.
John DeMiglio,
No.
Dan Dixon,
No.
Greg Goldfarb, Craig Goldfarb, you need to unmute. Okay, we'll come back. Cynthia Gagne,
No.
Christian Guzman,
Come back to me if there's a tie.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller. Kelly Miller, you need to unmute. Okay, we'll come back. Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Okay, back to Craig Goldfarb. Are you there?
No.
Kelly Miller, are you there? Kelly Miller? Okay, we have, without Kelly, we have,
I'm sorry, yes.
oh, okay. We have 10 yeses, 5 nos, and 1 abstention by Christian. So this carries.
Okay, very good. Mr. Secretary, would you like to move to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, there's been a second by Gwendolyn Henry. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
any opposed? Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank
Wait,
you
who
for
was-
coming to the.
Who was that, nay?
Me, Chris Valle.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for coming to the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council August board meeting. we will have our next meeting in September. You're welcome to check out our website to look at committee dates and board meeting dates. And we hope to work with you in the future. Get rest, get hydrated. It's still summertime, so it can get hot out there. So farewell to you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
NWSPNC.org or follow us at NW San Pedro on Instagram.
Good night,
Yes.
everyone.
Or don't.